G'day, Flosstube. Anna, aka Morales, back with another stitching update. It is August 6th, and this is a channel about cross stitch. Glad everybody could join me. Welcome to everybody who's new. Welcome to everybody who's returning. Hope you like what you see. For those of you who are returning, you'll note I am in a slightly different spot than usual. That would be because life has been, as usual, a bit chaotic around here. One of the chaoses currently happening is I finally have cupboards in my she shed. So I have stuff scattered everywhere trying to get some sort of organization and get things put away that I want put away in cupboards. No bench tops on said cupboards, mind you, or on the bench cupboards, but I got cupboards. One step at a time, guys. Anyway, so just because I could, I decided I'd film a little segment, a little tour of the she shed. Fair warning to anybody who gets serious motion sick and likes clean focus. This is not the little segment for you. But yeah, enjoy the little tour of the she shed that I will put in now. Guys, it's been a while, so I thought I'd do a quick tour of the she shed facility. Apologies in advance. Once we actually get in there, it's going to be a bit of a disaster area, but as you'll see, it's an ongoing work in progress, but we are making progress. So try and ignore the mess. For those of you who like things neat and tidy, this is not what you're going to see. So we actually put double width sliding doors here. I've never actually used them double width, but one day I have visions of being able to have the doors open and whatnot. So the new addition is, focus, the cabinets down the side. You can see we're still missing a bench top, but we have cabinets both above and below, so I can start to put things away. We have 2 functioning work areas. That is when the kids don't leave their stuff scattered all over the top of them, or at the moment they're mostly filled with stuff that I'm in the process of reorganizing and putting in the said new cabinets. Over by the ladder, that's our main access to the mezzanine area for the moment, where a lot of storage ski gear that doesn't get used very much in the tropics and the Halloween props. You can see Frankie Roo, the kangaroo, up there. All that gets up there, and eventually it will have a purpose-built set of stairs that run up the wall to access that, and we can get rid of the ladder, but for the moment we have a ladder. And then another dumping ground for things I'm going to organize. We have the start of a little cubby to go with the guest room where they can get tea and coffee and all the rest of that. That will eventually be my wet cleanup area. There'll be a sink for me to wash my paints and all that sort of jazz. And then basically more piles of storage around the other corner. So, like I said, apologies if you were expecting neat and tidy. That is not what we have at the moment. You can see my little work area, computer hidden back there. And probably the neat and tidiest part of the whole place at the moment is the actual guest bedroom hidden back around here. Let's see if we get some lights. So my eldest daughter lives out here sometimes. So, you know, I'll set up for somebody to actually come and stay. We had guests the other night. That will eventually be a guest bathroom, but at the moment it's just a storage closet for construction rubbish, so nothing to see there. That is it for the actual facility. I'll show you. We've started to actually try and put things away in an organized fashion. Again, no bench tops, so you can see straight down to my project bags. See how we can. So you can see this filming and their hands doesn't work very well. You can see I put all my cross stitch in that cupboard. I had visions of all my bags sitting nicely in the one spot across the top. I can guarantee you there's at least 4 projects that aren't in there. And that shelf is pretty stinking full. My spare linen, I think all of it I've found so far anyway, is in that large box below. So don't have quite the linen collection some of you guys do, but I did have to upgrade to a bigger box. some spare binders and project bag type stuff. And the box on the left is actually the finished projects, which is kind of depressingly small compared to the other stuff. But there is still acres of stuff floating around, like none of my beads are in there yet. What else to show you? Most of the top cabinets are starting to get some stuff. So again, sticking with the theme of sort of the needlework being in this side, you have the specialty flosses and what little bit I have of Krynic left and stuff like that floating up on the top, the embroidery books. I think there are actually photographs in that bottom box, which is probably not as logically organized with this group, but you know, we're getting there. Work in progress. The other cabinets, I won't go through all of them, I'll bore you. A lot of the other cabinets are still got plenty of room in there, but there is scrapbooking stuff mostly in there. So, all right, before I make you guys all motion sick, I will cut this and see you in the main video. Okay, and without further ado, shall we actually get to the cross-stitching content, which is what this channel is, you know, supposed to be about? Can't help the odd little rabbit trail. So stitching wise, this month has also been a bit out of the ordinary. It has been a 99% Bella Fillipina month. And that is partly because at the start of the month, in fact, just a day or two after I filmed my last update, I had a pretty major surgery. And, you know, with that comes recovery and not feeling so crash hot and brain cells not working so crash hot. And so I pulled out Bella Fillipina's Bellatrix to take with me to the hospital. Now, the only thing I actually worked on while I was in the hospital was this big old stinking window, because, you know, I figured, like, I think I was way down here when I went in, when I came out of surgery. So I had that whole length window that all I had to do is count nothing more than 3 stitches wide and just keep going up, and you can't hardly stuff it up. So over the course of, what did I spend, 3 or 4 days in hospital? I managed to get the bulk of that side of the window in place. So obviously, as the days went on, I got progressively feeling better and a bit braver than just having plain old straight stitches. But those first couple days were a bit sus. So before I get too distracted, this will be a 28 count cast shell, dyed by myself. It's just Rit dye. Clearly just the gray is Pro Gray, maybe a bit of black. I don't keep a particular recipe for this one. And at this point, once I pulled it out in the hospital and stuff, I did quite a bit on it. Like, I finished the outer frame. I think I finished all the cross stitches in the garland. In fact, I think I might have finished all the cross stitches, period. And I'm working on the back stitching. So I've got back stitching all finished through that window. I'm pretty sure the flame was new since you saw it. All the face and hands and skin and everything are back stitched, although maybe that was. I'm pretty sure I put more into the book. No, clearly I have not finished all the stitches because there's more in that candle, but they're probably white, and I tend to leave white till almost very, very last. Either that or echre or something very, very light. And so I've been avoiding those few stitches. And I may have some more over here in this half stitch. I don't know. I'll have to go see. It's very stinking close. I know I backstitched the cat. I've started adding the backstitch through a lot of the garlands. Have little fribbles coming off them. I'm pretty sure I finished the skirt entirely. The skirt was didn't have much to go, but basically clean up in little bits of color and metallic. I still clearly got to do, I think, 3 out of 4 of the corner motifs, but they're not, let's see, I think that one's mostly complete. There's probably backstitch to go in there yet. So they're not super intensive in time or effort. So I really need to get this one basically finished to the point where she's ready for beading, because she is so stinking close at this point. Give you a bigger full-on look again. Yes. So whether I get her mounted and framed and everything in time for Halloween, I suppose, is a bit questionable, but she is very, very close. And I think the reason I put her away and changed focus, even though I was that close, was because that pattern calls for whatever the black Krynic is, and I've swapped it to the black treasure braid. Now, I know when I said in my conversion video that I've never had a Bella Fillipina where I've run out of a card of treasure braid, and I never buy 2 cards, you know, no matter how many Krynics are called for. This might be the exception to that rule, because that's how much I got left, and I reckon it's going to be real touch and go as to whether I got enough left on that card to finish the little bit that's left on that pattern. So I vaguely remember Googling one day trying to get access to a few treasure braids and some patterns, and I was having trouble getting an order where I could get them all in the one spot, and then I think I got distracted. Never got back to it, and that's at that point where I ended up switching projects. Having said that, I switched projects to another Bella Fillipina, which is the Maiden. And again, I'm not going to even bother to pull out what she's going to look like when she's finished, because this one, the cross stitches are definitely all finished, because I'm up to beading. So look at that bling and sparkle. Now, before I get too distracted again, it's also 28 count cash out. It is dyed by myself. Clearly it's blue with a bit of purples in it. It's kind of meant to mimic the called for in the design, except that it's nowhere near as dark. I kind of wonder whether some of these beads wouldn't have looked nicer on the darker fabric, but they're not a bad match for what I've got here too. Ooh, focus is not so much a thing today. Come on, focus. Maybe I need to clean my camera lens. Yeah, so at this point, I think I finished her crown. Done all the back stitching through her face. I think I've done all the back stitching on her altogether. Finished at least that coral. I think I may be working on finishing up those 2 corals. You know, we got treasures through her bra and that she's draped are mostly there. I think there's a bit more coming out her hand over here. And then, yeah, that's about the end of the beading that I've done. There's acres more beads through her tail yet to come, and more corals with beads and stuff. Now, I have to tell you guys, I've never seen corals that sparkly in the ocean. I like them. I like the bling. But I've never, in all my dives, seen corals that sparkle quite like that in the ocean. The beads, as per my usual, I've swapped them all out for Delicas rather than Mill Hills. For the most part, I'm quite happy. Well, I'm quite happy with my conversion in terms of colors and all the rest of it. I'm looking at that mushroom coral up the top, this one, and I'm like, I don't get all the big old chunky beads on there. So every time I look at it, it's like, why has she got a balloon on her head with chunky beads? I don't think it's got anything to do with the color that's called for. I just am not real fussed on the way that was charted. I feel like it would have been better with smaller beads in there. Will I change it? I don't know. I don't think so. But I'm not particularly fussed. The rest of the corals I like. But you can see how the beads here are just basically a dark accent around the tip. It makes sense. It doesn't look like a balloon floating over her head. It is what it is. The only original beads is this starfish and these scallops. They are the only charted mill hills, essentially because I couldn't find anything in a starfish or a scallop shell shape to substitute. Whereas these teardrops, there's 4 teardrops in this pattern. I'm almost certain they are 1 to a packet if you buy mill hills, you know, do the math, 4 packets. I subbed those out for a generic 6mm teardrop, 25 cents a pop. So I'm kind of pleased with that. And, you know, buy a pack of 10, I got, you know, enough to do another project in a bit. So I do quite like subbing out a lot of those for the generic ones just to cut down the cost quite considerably. That marguerite bead in the middle of a bra is the same. It's just a vaguely close color in the flower shape to be a centerpiece, and I quite like how that looks. So we're calling it good. In fact, if you could find a starfish and scallop shells sort of to keep the shapes or something oceany themed, I'd be inclined to swap those out because they look really kind of muted and whatnot in comparison to some of the other stuff, but it is what it is. So I'm struggling, like I've gotten to the halfway point. I feel like I should push through. I should get this beaded. And yet I'm so over beading, guys, and I got whole Bellatrix yet to come. I'm so over beading. So I'm thinking, you know, I have been the last couple of days taking a bit of a break on the beading. But I don't want to take too long of a break and lose momentum. So that is the battle. But hopefully next time I film, she will be completely finished. She has a deadline. My parents are coming from the States to visit for my middle daughter's graduation. So they will be here mid-August. And my goal is to have the Maiden finished. We're still tossing up the fully finished, because if I fully finish her, then they got to try and get her back to the US on a plane without, you know, damaging anything. But at least have her finished so she can go back to the US with my parents and go to the niece that she is slotted for. So because I was getting a little bit tired of beading and I was going around town, I needed something just a bit simpler than carding all those beads. I ended up pulling out one we haven't seen for quite a while. This was a Mania start, not last year, must have been the year before. This is Kooler Designs Paradise Floral Sampler. And very ironically, those of you who have seen this piece before know that, you know, Bird of Paradise, one of my favorite flowers. And I have a couple of Bird of Paradise bushes in the backyard. And they have refused to bloom. Just absolutely refused to throw any flowers. And I keep looking at these green things going, where's my flowers? So I started stitching this so I had some flowers. Well, one of the yellow ones finally did bloom. My husband and kids cut off the one bloom that bloomed and brought it to me in the hospital. So I had it like the day after surgery. I finally got my flower. Yes, so that was quite nice. Good timing. But because I was basically moving out and about in town and not doing anything too strenuous, I basically would pick the empty spot over on this left flower and fill it in and keep working, and then pick the next empty spot and fill it in and keep working. So I think I'm down to where I've got almost 2 full flowers complete, and I really need to start breaking some more ground. But the goal is to kind of start closing off that top piece so that we can get the back stitching in on this piece. You can see I have had a bit of a go at starting the back stitching on the leaves and stuff and on the frame. There is an awful lot of back stitching in this project, so I don't want to leave it all to the end because, you know, back stitching can be its own tedium. So I'm trying to do it bit by bit, but it kind of means I got to finish out these flowers so I can back stitch them. I have also been focusing on trying to fill in the 1/1 area. Again, its own kind of tedium, and I didn't want to leave it all to last and have nothing but the 1/1 to fill in. So I've been making a dedicated effort to complete that component of the design. At this point, I have just cracked the 50% mark, so it's like 50.7% or something like that. I do have this little section only. I imported Pattern Keeper to mark off. It's just with those tiny stitches, it's harder to see what you've done and what you haven't. So I'm actually finding Pattern Keeper quite handy for just that little section. I don't bother with the rest of it. I just look at my pattern and see what I've done, be done with it. But yeah, pretty pleased. 50% mark, and that orange color down there. Again, focus. That orange color down there. I've zeroed it out on Pattern Keeper. There's no more of that orange color in that diamond. Of course, it wasn't much to start with, but only about 12 stitches per one of those flowers, so 48 stitches all up. But never mind, we got our first zero. We got to take our wins where we can get them, right, guys? So that is what I have been working on. I did actually try and work on the map in one day. It was sort of in the immediate aftermath of surgery. I was home, but I was not fully functional yet. And I think I managed all of about 20 stitches because I couldn't get my arm up and down. I still had drains at that point, so every time I moved my arm, you know, it's going past the drains and around that frame, and 20 stitches, and I'm like, no, this is not working. So I didn't even bring that one out because it's not worth showing you 20 stitches. However, I am starting to feel like all of a sudden, let's get back to that too. So yeah, we'll have to have another go with that one. As far as stash goes, I tried to be naughty. Like I said, I tried to buy the black thread. The black thread was going to be an excuse. I was going to buy a bunch of treasure braids because I needed them for various projects that were coming up. And I wanted to get 2 more Bella Fillipina patterns. One of which I did get my paws on. It is Greta Gold Broom. So she will no doubt be the Halloween pattern that replaces Bellatrix, because I think she will be stinking cute on our Halloween wall. Clearly not this year, maybe next year. I'll have to go digging through my fabric stash and see which fabric she would look awesome on. So this was just a stash unload. I finally managed to get my hands on this one. I don't know why. I'm having trouble finding Aussie stitching spots that have the Bella Filipinas, you know, available online, or at least listed on their website. I'm trying to avoid the whole email somebody, wait for 3 days for me to get back to you, you know, that back and forth. Just so I would really like a 1, 2, 3 stitch where I can just tick the boxes, put it in the cart, move on. But I'm struggling to get that. The reality is I should just put another order in with 1, 2, 3 stitch and get what I need. So I foresee her getting started in a not too distant future, but I will wait till Bellatrix is finished. I probably should finish things more than I start them. I can't remember if I said in my little tour video that shelf where I had all my cross-stitching projects. in my head, I had visions of, you know, fitting all of the stitching stuff that I have on the go on that one shelf. It's clearly not going to work. So at this point, I see two logical options. Either I have to finish enough projects so that they do fit on the top shelf, or I have to dedicate that whole cupboard to cross-stitching projects, and then I need to fill up the second shelf with a whole bunch of new starts. Now, one can pick what I should do, and one can pick the tempting option. Yeah, honestly, I don't think I'm quite game enough to fill up that whole second one. I don't think I'll find that many more in my deep stash that I'm not aware they're there. I'll probably find one or two, but I don't think there'll be that many. So it'd be an awful lot of new starts to genuinely fill up that second shelf. Having said that, I want to start something, not finish 50 things. The eternal battle. Anyway, the other Bella Fillipina I am trying to get my hands on, since I am very close to finishing the Maiden, is the Mermaid of the Cursed Sea. I think she will be my next mermaid. Again, those of you who have been floating around for a while will know that I'm doing a thing where basically we get a mermaid for each of the cousins. My middle daughter has her mermaid. She has Enchantress Abyss. One of my nieces has Pearl of the Orient Seas. Another niece will get the Maiden. My eldest daughter doesn't have one yet, and she's particularly fond of that Temptress of the Cursed Sea. That's going to be an interesting one to stitch. The mermaid herself, it's all right. I'm not that fussed on the way it looks. I don't like the fabric they put it on. Like, I get where they're going with the dark and I don't like it. So I'm going to do it because my daughter loves it. But I'm wondering how hard this is going to be to stitch it. I don't necessarily think it's the coolest thing. That leaves at least two more mermaids that I need to find to stitch, and one of them needs to be an easy conversion to a Korean heritage. So we are still on the hunt. I'm kind of, particularly for that last Korean one, I'm kind of just holding out to see whether Drin releases anything new in the next couple of months, year, while I finish Maiden of the Cursed Sea, something that strikes me as, must do that one. Hopefully in the next year I'll see something that's pretty awesome and must go on the start list. But I think that's about it for me and plans and what I've done. I am hoping, hope springs eternal, that it will be a calmer month. Yeah, who am I kidding? It's life. Never seems to calm down, but at least we don't have any major surgeries or any sort of that nonsense to go, so all good. I will see you guys in a month. Take care, happy stitching, hope you get lots of progress, and I am going to catch up with all of you on Flosstube because it's been ages. See you then. Bye.